So you know it's a terrible mission when even the welcome home ceremony is a disaster. My friends, in today's episode, South African soldiers return from the DRC to chaos and questions, the rand steadies as oil jitters cool off, and DStv flirts with the idea of a sports-only package. Plus, almost more importantly, we are now officially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So look, if you prefer to not see my face first thing in the morning, but still want your news on the go, we've got you covered. Links for them are in the description. But for now, without further ado, let's get into it. And kicking us off with current affairs, after months of confusion and casualties, the last group of South African soldiers have officially returned home from the DRC, singing, dancing, and probably wondering what that was all for. You see, this peacekeeping mission was supposed to support Congolese troops against M23 rebels. Why were we involved? I'm not entirely sure. Instead though, 14 of our soldiers died, many were stuck in bases with no food or proper equipment, and the rebels just kept gaining ground anyway. And the cherry on top of this is when the troops finally flew back last week, the wrong plane was sent, families waited in Bloem while the soldiers landed in Pretoria, a red carpet welcome turned into soldiers climbing over railings and scrambling downstairs to get out. You know, sometimes the jokes write themselves, and if this return doesn't sum up the entire mission, I don't know what does. And look, I don't mean to be Debbie Downer here, but sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. Our government has called this mission a success, but what do we actually achieve here? We lost lives, burned through taxpayer money, and flew home with nothing to show for it. And on to our quick fire mentions. A fire in Cape Town's Table Mountain National Park forced the closure of Boys Drive this past long weekend, but it has now officially been contained. Sandpark says that religious groups illegally lighting fires may have caused the blaze. The DA is challenging a controversial new proposal under the Employment Equity Act that will let employers assume a worker's race if they didn't declare it, calling it a return to crude racial classification. And while the Gautrain launched discounted fares for low-income riders, even its cheapest tickets have turned out to be double the cost of the country's most expensive metro rail options. And onto our finance section. Last week, Israel launched major airstrikes on Iranian nuclear and military sites, targeting facilities like Natanz and South Pass. Now, Iran hit back with over 100 drones, and talks with the US collapsed. And now markets are in full Armageddon mode. I mean, oil spiked 13%. Brent hit $78.50 before settling around $74. And gold surged as investors fled to safe havens. But here at home though, the rand briefly breached 18 rand, but has since steadied at around 17 rand 95 cents. Still though, the uncertainty is far from over. But here's what you need to know. If Iran tries to block the Straits of Hormuz, where a fifth of the world's oil moves daily, prices would go vertical. I mean, Sasol's stock price jumped 10% on Friday, just riding on that wave of panic. But for motorists, it's a warning sign. I mean, analysts say that July could bring a painful pump price hike of 30 to 50 cents a litre. And that's on top of the fuel levy increase from Budget 3.0. So yes, this conflict is 8,000 kilometers away, but our wallets are already caught in the crossfire. And next up, as we mentioned last week, MultiChoice has lost 1.2 million subscribers over the past year, half of them being in South Africa. And so with higher prices and cheaper streaming options available pulling viewers away, the pressure is mounting. And so in an attempt to stop the bleeding, they're piloting weekly subscriptions in Uganda to try and match tighter pay cycles. But the real game changer here is a potential SuperSport-only bundle. I mean, for years, South Africans have been begging for it. Just the sports, without the clutter or the premium prices. So now MultiChoice is actually actively exploring ways to unbundle sports from its broader offering. And look, it's not confirmed, but the timing's telling. You see, their new prospective owner, Canal Plus, already offers standalone sports bundles in Europe. And they may very well bring that model here if that takeover goes through. And so I'm interested to know, for those of you that have ditched DStv, would a cheaper sports-only package be enough to bring you back? And on to our quick fire mentions. South Africa is nearly off the FATF grey list. That's this global body that flags countries with weak anti-money laundering laws. So we've ticked all 22 boxes required, and so if next month's on-site inspection goes well, we officially delisted from October. And South Africa's mobile giants from MTN to Vodacom have just told Parliament that they would welcome Starlink, not as a threat but as a partner. They say that the satellite internet company can help bridge rural gaps and that regulatory delays are hurting the people that need it most. And onto our sports section. South Africa are the champions of the world. The Proteas just beat Australia at Lord's to win the World Test Championship, their first RCC trophy in 27 years and the biggest title in Test cricket. I mean, it's so easy to forget this tournament stretches over 2 full years. And so it's not just one match, it's a journey. And we went all the way. Markram's century sealed it, Maharaj wept, and for once the tears weren't about what could have been, but what finally is. That whole chokers tag, retired. This was South African grit, glory, and history rewritten. And so now they're flying home. The team lands tomorrow morning at OR Tambo, and honestly, I hope it's chaos. Like the box, like Drickets, shut that airport down. Line the streets, get them on a double-decker bus and parade them across the country, because that's what we do when heroes come home. Alrighty, got a bit passionate there. On to our quick fire mentions. Jake White says that the Bulls URC loss to Leinster was their toughest yet, calling it men against boys. He's now banking on new signings like Andre Pollard to help close the gap. Rassie Erasmus has trimmed the box squad to 45 players and called up Bowen Fenter as injury cover to prop. The Boks open up their season against the Barbarians in Cape Town on the 28th of June. Life is good. And Mercedes George Russell won a dramatic Canadian Grand Prix, but the moment belonged to 18-year-old Kimi Antonelli. The rookie held off the pack to become one of the youngest podium finishers in F1 history. And next up, which sport was last played at the Olympics in 1900 and never returned? Was it A, cricket, B, polo, or C, tug of war? We'll give you the answer at the end of the next section. And onto our wildcard section. My friends, we're going to get a little bit deep here, but for all the right reasons. Father's Day was this past Sunday, but in South Africa, it's also a moment to reflect on a quiet national crisis. Did you know that only 35% of South African children live with their biological fathers? And over 60% of births are registered without a father's name. I genuinely didn't expect this. And this isn't just a stat, it is a pattern with consequences. Multiple studies link absent fathers to issues like crime, substance abuse, school dropouts, mental health issues, and even imprisonment. But behind those numbers are stories of a generation raised in absence, missing the very father figures meant to steady them and protect them. So the State of South Africa's Fathers Report calls it a generational loop. And the stats don't just point to a crisis, they point to a cycle. Researchers paint the picture that South Africa doesn't just have a crime problem or a gender-based violence problem, it has an underlying father problem. So it's all the fathers out there doing the work. We see you, we respect you, and we need more of you. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is cricket. Last played in the Olympics in 1900 in a single match between England and France. The twist here is that the French team was mostly made up entirely of British expats. England won, naturally, and the sport never returned, mostly just because 2 teams showed up. My friends, that's it for today. Again, just a reminder, if you prefer your news on the go, you can now find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Same show, different format, zero scrolling. Links in the description. We'll catch you all tomorrow, my friends. Cheers.